Thank you so much for returning to my YouTube channel. My name is Ranalynn Naipo, and for all my new subscribers, aloha and welcome. So I had a lot of my subscribers that wanted to know what drugstore foundations have I been gravitating to or will be using during this holiday season. Now, being that I live here in the state of Hawaii, it does not get very cold. So I'm gonna go over what primer worked well for me. I have oily to combination skin, so I'm going to show you what primer I end up using, and it's actually a drugstore brand. This one is actually from NYC. This one is your Smooth Skin Perfecting Primer. This one is absolutely stunning. Some of it I end up mixing it into my foundation so I get a much smoother foundation. So I'm gonna let you know that all of these foundations was actually used with the same primer. So I'm gonna start by showing you what are some of my top picks for drugstore. Now, this might not work for you. It does work for me. These are more of a full coverage foundation, but to go ahead and prove that, I'm gonna get a magic marker and mark my hand so you have a better idea of how well it actually goes on. I've been using all of these drugstore foundations over the last 6 to 7 months, and they work extremely well and does not irritate my skin. That is the biggest thing. When I tend to buy foundations that have a built-in SPF, my eyes start watering or my skin starts to burn. So if it has a small amount of SPF, like 15, then I'm fine. But if it has more than an SPF of 15, then my eyes start getting a little itchy. So I have to be careful on what foundations I go ahead and use. Before we start off with the foundations, I'm gonna get a magic marker, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm gonna mark my hand with an X so you get a better idea of how well it actually ends up covering. I'm gonna take a magic marker right here and make an X on my hand. There we go. This will give you a better idea of how well the coverage for this foundation actually works for me. So I'm going to put the pen away. We're going to jump right into the first foundation. So the first foundation I want to go over is from CoverGirl. This is their BB Cream. This is their Clean Matte. 550 is the color. This one is actually in a medium deep color. This one is a BB cream for oily skin, which is exactly me. So I'm gonna put some of this foundation onto my hand so we get a better idea of how well the coverage is on my skin. So I'm gonna take a small amount and put that onto my palm. And we're gonna blend that in. I'm gonna go ahead and use my fingers so you have a better idea of how well it actually covers. So being that this one has a BB cream, you're still able to see the X in the middle of my hand. Can you tell? I mean, I can. It doesn't cover very well because it's a BB cream. It has a built-in moisturizer along with the foundation. So if you don't want a full coverage foundation that's gonna give you the color that you want, I think this one is absolutely stunning. Now, I know you're gonna think that this color is a little too dark for me, but by the time I end up putting all of my pressed powders on, it actually works very well. So this was one of the lighter foundations that I actually chose, because on days that I don't want to wear a lot of makeup, I will gravitate towards this one if I'm going out and just want to run errands and I don't want something very cakey. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one from my hand and jump into the next option that I have for drugstore. The next one we're going to be doing is from Rimmell London. This one is the Rimmell London Stay Matte Liquid Mousse Foundation. That's a lot of words for a foundation. So I'm gonna go over and let you know that this is under Classic Beige. I'm gonna go ahead and put it right over the X so you have a better idea of how well it actually covers. There we go. That's the amount I'm gonna put on. Let me put the cap back on. And I'm gonna blend that over so you get a better idea of how well it actually covers. Now for a matte, this one is actually a matte liquid mousse. Very, very creamy, very, very gentle. There we go. And actually it covered that X very well. I'm just looking in my monitor right here. It might be slightly transparent, but I do like sometimes wearing a full coverage foundation, because if I don't want a full coverage, I'll just add a little squirt of my moisturizer in there and turn a full coverage foundation back into a BB cream. So being that this one is matte, I've been gravitating towards this one, and this one is from Rimmell London. And this color is actually in classic beige. This is a beautiful color. And the color came out absolutely gorgeous. It actually ended up covering majority of the X. I'm actually looking on my monitor and I really don't see the X. So the coverage on this is absolutely stunning. Now I know for a lot of you who do not want a full coverage foundation, just go ahead and use a little less amount and it will be absolutely perfect. So this is one of the second options that I go ahead and use. Okay, so after that foundation, we still got the X on. I'm gonna jump into the next one. I think the next one is gonna be NYX. This is their full coverage foundation, which I absolutely love. I love it so much. This one is almost gone, and I actually have a backup. So this one says that it's the NYX Invisible Full Coverage Foundation. We're gonna put a small amount on here and see what ends up happening. I'm gonna put a amount right there. And go ahead and blend that over. Ooh, yeah. Covers it very well. Look at that. Excellent. I've been using this, for 9 months. I love it. It's very creamy. The only difference with this one here is because it's not a matte, I need to let it dry for a minute or so when I go ahead and apply it, either with my fingers, I go ahead and use a brush, and then I go over with a sponge. That way I go ahead and get a porcelain finish on my face. That's the foundation that I actually have on today. So I go ahead and apply it on with my finger because it comes in the tube. And then I go ahead and blend it out with a brush, and then I go over with a sponge. So that way I get a more flawless finish on my face. So this one is from NYX. It does exactly what it says. It's a full coverage foundation. So again, a little goes a long way when it comes to covering your scars or your imperfections. So if you're looking for a good drugstore foundation that'll give you full coverage, you need to go ahead and use the NYX Full Coverage Foundation from the drugstore. This one is absolutely stunning. Okay, so being that the X is disappearing, I'm going to grab the pen, put that X back on, so that way you can have a better idea, there we go, of what the next foundation will actually end up covering. So let's go ahead and jump right into another drugstore option. So the next drugstore option is from L'Oreal. I always have a hard time matching my foundations. So what I like to go ahead and do is pick up 2. And the whole purpose of me doing that is because I can mix and match the color that I actually want. This is their L'Oreal Paris 24 Hour, which I normally do not wear foundation for 24 hours, and I would never suggest anybody wearing foundation for 24 hours, but this is their Infallible Pro Glow, and I got it in actually 2 colors. 210 is Classic Tan and 204 is Natural Buff. I'm going to go ahead and mix a little of both, but the reason why I actually went ahead and invested into 2 is because I can mix both and find the right color combination that I need. Also, I can use a lighter color as a concealer. So I'm going to mix both onto my hand and show you what it actually does and see whether it's able to go ahead and cover this X. So we got the much darker color right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of the lighter color. And we'll see if it ends up covering that X. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and mix the 2 colors together. And let's see. Here we go. Ooh, it did well. Ooh, awesome. Look at the coverage on that. Actually, I could have put a much lighter color more in there to actually end up covering it. I'm actually looking in my monitor right here. And I know you're thinking, if I go ahead and do that, there's probably a much darker streak compared to my lighter streak. But the reason why this hand is a little lighter is because this girl is over swatching on this hand right here. So the whole purpose of me getting a much darker color is because it tends to match my face and my chest. Because again, like I said, by the time I add my loose setting powder onto my face, this is the color I end up getting. So I'd rather find a foundation that's a little bit too dark, because I can always go over with a light setting powder than get a foundation that is too light. So this is the color that I actually have from L'Oreal. If you want, you can mix a little bit of a lighter color in there. In fact, I'm going to do that because I'm sure everybody's like, that's too dark. I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. and show you that it is a much lighter color. There we go. Does that look a little better? Does that match my skin? Ooh, there we go. Okay, so not as dark, a little lighter. I don't know if you're still able to see the X. I think you still can, very slightly. But this is a magic marker that I was end up using, so I think it covers very well. The whole purpose of me doing that is because I know we all have different skin types. We all have different skin complexions. We all have different lighting. So I prefer going ahead and letting you know that if I go ahead and put a permanent marker on my hand, this is how well the coverage will end up showing up. So this one is actually from L'Oreal. This one is absolutely stunning. This one does not irritate my skin. This is very smooth, it's excellent, and this is also drugstore. Very, very affordable. So I went ahead and put the X back on because every time I'm wiping it off, I'm actually taking off the magic marker. And let's go ahead and jump right into our next option. So the next one is actually from Maybelline. If you went ahead and saw what happened with these, I'll be leaving my comments down in the description bar. It was extremely sheer, but what I did was I mixed some of my loose powder from NYC, mixed the two colors together to get the color that I actually wanted, mixed a loose powder with it, and I actually turned into a great full coverage foundation. So sometimes you'll end up at the drugstore and getting a foundation that's very, very sheer, but also we have this one, which is also from Maybelline. This is their matte Pore-less. I think maybe I'll do this one because it's a lot more sheer, and it does not have a pump, which I don't like. So it comes in a bottle like this. I prefer having a pump on there. I'm gonna go ahead and mix these two colors and let you know how transparent it is. We're gonna put a little bit of the dark and a little bit of the light. It's a little on the runny side, and I'll go ahead and show you how transparent it is. So we're gonna mix those two colors together and show you that if you're looking for a light coverage foundation, you can basically still see the X right there, but it does help to go ahead and probably balance out the tone of your skin, which is really great. So if this is the kind of foundation that you're actually looking for, this is the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. This one is 340, which is a little dark, and I always go ahead and buy two colors because I can never find the right combination for my skin. I just go ahead and take a lighter or darker concealer, which you're going to go ahead and see in another video, is how to go ahead and customize your foundation. But I'm also going to go ahead and do another video and let you know how you can go ahead and take one foundation and customize it to using it 5 different ways with just one foundation. So you'll be seeing that in another video. Okay, so the X is still in my hand. The other one is Maybelline, but this is their matte Pore-less. This one I just went ahead and got it in one shade because it was actually perfect. It comes in a tube. You can actually see the color through the tube, which I actually like. Plus it's easy to go ahead and travel with. I can actually see the color that I actually like. I'm going to put it onto my hand and we'll see whether it ends up covering that X. So I'm going to go ahead and blend it in. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and tap it in. And it's basically a matte because it'll dry down to a matte, but you can actually still see the X on there. There we go. So it's not as full coverage as some of the other ones like the NYX. The NYX was able to go ahead and cover that. That one is more of a sheer coverage. I love the color on this one. This one actually matches my skin complexion perfectly. I actually like that one, even though it doesn't end up covering the X. On those days that I don't want a full coverage foundation, I'll probably end up gravitating towards this one. So let's go ahead and jump right into my last option. So the last one is from Revlon. This is the Revlon Color Stay Makeup Foundation. This one is actually based for oily skin. We're going to go ahead and see how that ends up working. I like because it comes in a pump, so it's not messy. I'm just going to put one pump onto my hand, go ahead and blend it in, and we'll see what ends up happening. Ooh, that one's nice and creamy. I'm going to go ahead and blend that in. Ooh, very nice, actually. There we go. Pretty good. I mean, you can still see the X a little bit in the center. I'm actually looking at my monitor right there. So you're able to go ahead and see how well it actually ends up covering. But, you know, I think for Revlon, the price is pretty good. So this one did not go ahead and cover the X. I use these on days that I don't want, again, a full coverage, but I love the color. I went ahead and found the color that I actually wanted at the drugstore. This one I went ahead and got from my CVS. So what I like about Revlon is the first time I went in to get myself color matched in a drugstore, I actually came up with a color I actually ended up liking. So I did not have the problem that I had with the L'Oreal, because I think the packaging does not show up as well as you see it here in the tube. Also, the Maybelline, you would think that the Maybelline fit me, being that it is in a glass. You would be able to find out the color that you actually like. So I always end up having to go ahead and buy 2 colors when it comes to Maybelline, mix and matching and finding the color that I actually want. So I had to do that with Maybelline. I had to go ahead and do that with L'Oreal. But when it came to Revlon, this one just hit it right in the spot. I had to go ahead and pick one. I came home, I went ahead and put it on, and the color matching was absolutely perfect. So I wanted to go ahead and share with you my options that I go ahead and use for drugstore. So as a recap, I think all of these foundations actually work for me. Again, make sure that you're using a foundation that is customized for you. These are foundations that I'm recommending that work for me. There's a high humidity here in the state of Hawaii. So these are drugstore options that I'm sharing with you that actually works for oily to combination skin. I have oily to combination skin. So all of these products I'll be listing down in the description bar. If you're interested, you can go ahead and try it and figure out whether it works for you or if it doesn't. So I hope you enjoyed as I went ahead and shared with you some of my drugstore options for foundations. So my name is Ranalynn Naipo. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do so by clicking on that subscribe button. Don't forget to click on that notification bell, because that'll keep you abreast on some of the videos that I go ahead and upload on a weekly basis. But what I want you to go ahead and do is to go out there, be bold, be beautiful, don't forget to dress up, and all the way from Hilo, Hawaii, my name is Ranalynn Naipo. Aloha! Bye-bye!